This is CrossCells. It's a number and logic puzzle game. This game relies heavily on math and logic solving. Now, I've seen some comments that say some of the puzzles don't have much logic to them and people have resorted to guessing. There's one specific puzzle that I see mentioned quite a bit, and that's puzzle number 47. I haven't solved this puzzle, so I thought I'd give this an attempt and see if we can find the logic in it. Just a quick overview of the rules. On this grid of numbers, we can highlight or gray out any of the tiles. When we highlight the tile, it activates that number, and we have to use the mathematical symbols to come up with the total on the edge and the bottom of the columns and rows. The numbers in the brackets indicate that only that specific number of tiles in that row or that column can be highlighted. So right off the bat, we can look at this middle column here. Only 4 tiles are allowed to be highlighted, but the total of all the numbers can only be 2. So right away, I know we can remove the 2's in there, because even if we only have one of them highlighted, we'll still need 3 more tiles to satisfy this 4. And there's 2 multiplied by 1 tiles, which means no matter what we pick, there will always have to be an extra +1, which would make that 3. But there's also 3 +1 tiles here, and to make that 2, only 2 of those can be highlighted, which means these 2 times 1s have to be highlighted. But that doesn't really help us right now with any of the other columns. Now in this box in the middle, the total of all highlighted numbers in the box has to equal 11. But there's also these constraints down here. So what that immediately tells me is that these 3 cannot all be highlighted at the same time, because that would equal 9. You need 2 more to get to 11, but we need at least 4 more tiles to be highlighted to cover these 3 tile constraints. So that's something we can keep in mind. Okay, so if we look at this middle column, it has to equal 3. And what that actually means is that the sum of all the numbers in these outside columns will have to equal 8. So if we add these up, 3, 4, 5, 6, this can't equal 6. It has to equal 5, because if this equals 6, this side has to equal 2, but you can't have 2 in 3 tiles. So we can get rid of that 3, which automatically makes those 3, which equals 5, which means this side must equal 3. And the only way to do that with 3 tiles is all the 1s. Now, this middle one can either be this 3 or 2 of those, but we don't know which yet. So maybe let's take a look at this top row. We've already got 3. Oh, there's a lot of ways we can make 12 here. But we do know that there's a 4 and a 6 here. And they have to be exclusive, because you can't have 4 plus this 3 and this 6 to make 12. Actually, looking down at this second row, we've already got 3. It has to equal 11, but we can only highlight 2 more here. The 2 and the 1 equal 3. We can add this 4 to equal 7, but there's no other 4 here to get to 11. So no matter what we do, that 4 can never be used. Which means now if we look at this column here, in order to get to 7, we have to use this 4. Because 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 does not equal 7. Now if we look back at this second row, we've got 3 here. The total is 11. We can only have 4. So the final 2 numbers have to add up to 8. And we can do 7 and 1, or 6 and 2. But there's no way to make 8 with this 3. So we can exclude that. And that means we can look at this second column here. The total is 7. We can do 5 and 2, but there's no more 3. So we'll never be able to use this 4. Okay, so looking at this third column now, the total is 9, but there's only 2 1s in it. So no matter what, we'll never be able to use this 6 in here. So we can get rid of that. So if we put all of these highlighted except the 4, we'll only get up to 11. So it's impossible to get to 12 without the 4, so it has to be there. Now that gives us 7, which means we need 5, and we can do that 2 ways. All the 1s and the 2, or the 3 and combination. So not quite enough info on that one yet. But we do see this 4 here, and this total is 7. So no matter what, we can't use the 5, and we can't use the 4. And that also means this 1 has to be highlighted. And now that we've got 5 here, the total here is 6, we can only do 1 there. And remove all of those. Now since this plus 1 is here, having this 9 here will put it over the total. So we can get rid of that. Now let's just take a look at this column here. The total is 12. We can use both these 5s as an option. Can we use this 3? That would equal 8, 10, 12. Yes. 2, 4, 7. Plus 5, that would also work, but there's no solution possible that can use this 1. So we can get rid of that one. Okay, looking at this column here with this 7, we've got 4 times 1 is 4, which means we need 3 more. Now we've only got a 1 and a 1 and a 2, so that means this 2 has to be highlighted. And that doesn't help us a whole lot for this row. But let's look at this first column here. If we add up all the numbers except for 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, they can't add up to 11. So this 4 has to be in the solution. And as soon as we pick that, that removes this 8 from this row. And it also forces this 1 to be removed, and this 5 to be highlighted. And now that this 5 is highlighted, we can't have this 5 in this column to make 7, so we know these two are the right answers. And now for this 12, all of these have to be highlighted. And then that tells us that this 3 can't be in the solution because that would add to this 2. And likewise, this 2 can't be here either. But we can still use both of these, so we're not quite there yet on that row. But we can look at this last column here. Total is 9, and we already have a 5, so it can't be 6. And it actually has to be all of these to get there. And now back up on this first row, we've got 5, 8, 10. So this can't be a 3. And we'll finish off that row, which also tells us that middle one is gone. We'll add that 1 for this row. And what are we at here? 7, 8. We'll have to put both of those on. And now we're at 4 here, which means the 7 is there. All right, that was a good solve. Thanks for watching.